Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. We are going over the check-in for The Artist's Way. We are doing weeks 9 and 10. I actually recorded week 9 last week and didn't turn the on switch on my mic. The week before that, I had actually forgotten the mic altogether. So obviously, I just decided to combine the 2 weeks again, and do like a 2 week update check in because I barely found time in my schedule to record that one, and when there was no sound, I was pretty upset. So we just accept it and move on. So I've just entered week 11, and so we are doing the check in for week 9 and 10. I will say week 9 I did not do an official artist date, simply because one of the things that I've come to realize is that one of the issues I have is spending money, since getting sober in 2017, and then continuing on this journey of like healing and getting to know myself. I've noticed that one of the ways I get that satisfaction is through spending money, often on things I don't need. And that the only artist dates I could come up with were shopping trips. And so I pressed pause on that. Week 10, I actually spent a lot of time crocheting, and that's what I did for my artist date. Was I watched a movie and I crocheted while I watched it. I've been trying to figure out some fingerless gloves that I could make, and I finally figured it out. But I watched a romance movie, and I don't watch those a lot. I don't watch movies a lot. I usually am only on YouTube if I am watching anything at all, or I watch the Patreon people that I subscribe to. But I decided that I was in the mood for this movie. I saw a preview when I was scrolling at some point, and it looked intriguing, and it was cute. I mean, it was a romance movie. It was predictable, and that was okay. It was exactly, I loved romance. Even as a kid, I loved, falling in love and love stories. When I was a teenager, when The Notebook came out, this did not have quite the Notebook vibes, but it was pretty close, like along the same line. So kind of getting in touch with my inner teen a little bit. That felt good. It felt like the right thing to do because I just didn't want to go out and spend more money. That's it. That being said, when I do spend money, I'm trying to do so at small businesses. And like we went over the weekend, we went to a haunted like terror event on November 1st because my kids were at their grandparents' house, and it was kind of like a date night. And I wound up at a used indie bookshop that's inside of a cafe. I bought a couple used books, and that I thought looked interesting, and that felt okay. Like the purpose of the trip was not to go shopping, but it was a cute little downtown area. We have a lot of those in the Midwest with like little shops that can always use support, and so that's what I did. The week, a couple weeks before that, I had ended up at the same town, and they had like a little knickknack shop and in a house and a shop, um like I don't want to say metaphysical, but it was like a witchy and like herbal shop, and I ended up picking up stuff there. um but again, it wasn't like I was going out solely for the purpose of like what my enjoyment was supposed to be, like like a playful fun date, as Cameron describes what the artist date should be, something that's fun. But I have noticed that like every time I've gone out for my quote unquote artist date, that it has been shopping or thrifting. And I've never, like, I always get things that I need, but I wanted to challenge myself to do something else. Also, We live in the middle of nowhere, so for me to do anything, I have to drive 30 minutes, and I have not been wanting to do that as much. So I purposely chose an artist date that I was able to stay at home. It was during a time when I knew I wouldn't be interrupted. That felt important. Um, the staying home part and not driving has been another challenge because I've always been someone who's on the go and I always really enjoyed driving. And now I have a home that I really love and I'm comfortable here. And so I'm now instead challenging myself to stay home and find ways to be excited and have fun at home. And I think that that is a good take on how the artist date and going about this process can work differently for different people. I did read my morning pages a bit. This is the tasks from week 9, but I did not, I've not kept up that practice. Most of the time for my morning pages, I write about my dreams from the night before. There are times I write about the events from the day before. I have kept up with my affirmations. Um, I don't know. That might be one that I go back to. Visualizing my goal. I wrote this out again this week because my goal still doesn't feel clear. I guess I was hoping that the artist way would help me with that. I have made the goal for the self the idea of self-publishing. I started my mail club on Ko-fi so that I could start to support the dream I have of publishing my own books, and I want to be able to fairly pay an editor in order to do so, because even though I have experience copy editing, I am not like an editor and it is my own writing. Um, and I want to be able to pay them like what they would expect to be paid by a client. And so that's what I think it was last week. I started the last couple weeks. I started my mail club. It is now open for November. You can sign up through the end of the month. I will kind of be sending them out as they come in. Um, but like last month, I had one person sign up and they got a handmade journal, a copy of my zine Forever Place, a couple other mini zines, some little scraps and bits, some lettering on vellum, and some painted cutouts. Um, I'm sure some other things. I did a preview of it, but my goal with it is to provide like a unique art mail club experience because it's something I always wanted to do. I'm challenging myself to include new zines in the mail club as often as I can because that's something I want to make more of. And again, I'm hoping that the money raised from that and from selling my other art pieces will go towards the goal of self publishing. So that is still kind of like loosely the goal. I wrote a little bit about it again yesterday, and I've been reading the book Creative Visualization by Shakti Goyne. And so some of the practices there I'm hoping will help as far as visualization. I did list out my priorities for the year and for the month and for the week. Like this week, recording this video was one of the big ones. Um, my next podcast episode needs to get recorded, and I would like to write the next segment of Letters to Imaginary Friends. Um, and I would like to, like for the month, I would like to film the next episode of Pockets, the free art journaling class. Creative U-turns. I did not have anything that I thought that I could go back to originally or that I was really interested in going back to. And if I do, it won't be right away because I'm in the middle of a bunch of things right now. But there's a story that I started in like 6th grade called The Orbiter, and it is one that I've come back to over and over again. I've always written out the beginning part and then I've tapered off. I would really like to see how that ends, and what I wrote my morning pages about this morning actually made me think that might be the best way to go back and U-turn, as Cameron calls it. I did my morning pages all days this week. Regarding your U-turns, have you allowed yourself a shift towards compassion? I am trying to be more self compassionate. I'm using the help of hypnosis and subliminals, along with the affirmation practice that this book introduces. Um, I already went over the artist date, my synchronicities for the week. I don't think I had any synchronicities necessarily. I did see like 6 blue jays after I had a really intense prayer session, and then wrote some surrender affirmations. Were there any other issues this week that you would consider significant for your recovery? Not for week 9, but I will go over for week 10 that I have joined a Substack, a paid Substack of a poet, and was able to jump on their live call and participate in the poetry circle. And I actually challenged myself to read the poem I wrote during the time allotted. I only had time to stay for one of the prompts. It was really scary for me to get on Zoom and know that other people were right there watching me. That's something I've struggled with. That's why I do the live creative co-workings. I'm kind of trying to build my tolerance for it. So for week 10, I also did my morning pages every day. I have not been reading my morning pages. I am writing them freely, but I do kind of have a format that I follow. I start off with my dreams and then I kind of let it go from there. I also write about like something in my mind that I've been like obsessing about. If there's like, because that's how I had my revelation this morning. There was a particular scene from a trailer that kept like bringing me to tears every time I thought about it. So I thought about it during my morning pages and I wrote about it. And that's how I came back to my creative U-turn. Any synchronicities this week? What was it? Not necessarily. I haven't tracked any big synchronicities recently. There's been a lot going on, but I will say that I feel a lot more at ease with like where I am creatively, and I don't feel the need to constantly define where I'm going. The significant issues for my recovery, I already talked about the poetry circle, and that was the big one for week 10 was like reading that poem with other people on that Zoom call who could actually see my face. Like normally my rosacea will flare up during that time, so I'm sure my face was beet red. Um, and the poem actually, the prompt led me to a deeper place. I ended up writing about my drinking days, which I don't usually intend to do with my poetry, at least not anymore. And so it was a really intense poem, and I didn't really intend for it to be. I am excited. I just listened to the chapter for week 11, and it goes into a lot about accepting that sometimes we have to make the work, even though there is not a market or a way to make money from the work, and that it is okay that sometimes our work is just for the purpose of doing that instead of for the purpose of having a career. And I would say, like, the biggest lesson that I've learned so far is that every single thing that I do creatively, even if it doesn't make sense at the time, does end up leading somewhere. So if I continue to follow like the curiosity and what is feeling interesting to me in a certain moment, if I continue to follow that thread, then I will continue to wind up at places where I'm finishing projects that I'm happy with and proud of. That is how it has been so far, and I do not anticipate that that will be any different. Um, we have This is week 11, and then there is one more week, and I will probably do like a wrap up video. And I really hope that you guys have enjoyed me sharing this journey so far. If you have any questions, or if you've been if you've started your own Artist Way journey and would like to share, I'd love to read about it in the comments. As always, hit the bell and subscribe if you haven't already. My new essay for the Tarot Diaries will be going up later this afternoon on Substack. So if you're not subscribed there, please consider checking that out. I usually include an abstract collage interpretation of the card that I'm working on for the week. This week is the Eight of Cups. So, or last week was the Eight of Cups. And it's interesting to see that the Artist Way has been tying into this project so far so significantly. I'm also looking at some other like creative books to work through after this is done, after I take like a little couple week breathing period. So I might be on here asking you guys if you have a preference, because I have another book of Cameron's. I have Creatrix, which is like a witchy spiritual version, more feminist aligned, similar to the Artist Way, but also different. I think it also ties in more to motherhood. Um, and I've got a couple other creativity books that um, I want to dive into. But for right now, I am pretty content with where this journey has led me, and I'm excited to see how it ends. I hope you guys have a good week. I hope that you stay safe. I hope that if you live in the US and have a chance and are able, you donate to a food pantry. I have money from a sale I hosted that I'm going to be donating this week, as well as some of my own money. Let's take care of each other, and let's, I don't know, have a great November. All right, go do something creative today. Bye, everyone.